Welcome to the Credit Bank Small Business Spotlight, where we spotlight inspiring business owners, learn their stories, and share what drives their success. This episode is sponsored by Credit Bank, powered by Shield Advisory Group. I'm your host, Irv Cruz, and today I am joined by David Sidoni. He is the founder and host of How to Buy a Home. It's a podcast that shifted his 13 years of real estate experience to create a space to help people become homeowners. Thank you for joining us, David.
Absolutely. Love the small business people. It's been part of my life for a long time, and it's been something that I'm always looking to help improve for everybody.
That's awesome. And I want to start by asking you, take us back to like where it all began. Like, where were you at that time before you started your business, and what inspired you or what brought you to establish this business?
I think everybody who has a small business mindset has an entrepreneur mindset. And for me, when I first got my job in real estate, first I was becoming a residential or a investment real estate person. And I
Okay.
did that on my own for a little bit, and then I realized I liked people more than numbers.
Okay.
So then I became residential real estate. And I think a lot of people think that realtors go and work for a big company. It's not. You're your own small business.
Right.
And the sooner I learned that, the more successful I got. And then as I got here into my, middle-aged third act of my life, I realized there was an opportunity for me to try to even branch out even further, even more niche than working for a broker. And thanks to the lovely world of social media and podcasts, I created a small business that fortunately or unfortunately is based on me on a microphone and people having to listen to me.
Oh, that's fantastic. And as you know, most businesses are set up or started to either address a need or solve a problem. What problem does your business solve, and who do you help the most?
The problem in my business is probably the most underreported problem uh, when it comes to most things for consumers for something that is so ubiquitous as buying your first home and real estate. 1 million to 2 million people do it every year. It's constantly on the news. The real estate industry has the absolute worst, most putrid, pathetic customer service for first-time home buyers.
Hmm.
And once you're in the industry, it's kind of like, wow, how has there not been a revolution from the people about this? And the reason there has not is because people get in, they realize they've got to go through it, then they just go through that process once and they're done. But you hear more horror stories because of I always joke that it's big real estate. Big
Right.
real estate knows how to make money a cheap way.
Right. Right.
And that hole was the need that I saw I could fix. The first part of it was explaining to people, hey, this is happening. And then the second part of it was showing them that truly maybe about 10% of the people who have a license in this profession are the best choices for you when you're moving forward.
And based on that premise, what did you do to get your name and your ideology out there and market yourself?
Well, it's really interesting because with real estate, specifically in the social media world, you used to be able to target geographically. So
Okay.
if I was someone who wanted to be big in Tampa or big in Miami or even big in Chicago, you could do geographic targeting, but real estate has a restriction now. So what you have to do is find the best way to be attractive to people,
Right. Right.
what they're into. And for me, that was education. Now I'm not blowing up as much as the person on TikTok that has the most hysterical video or
Right.
the person on Instagram who is the super influencer. But if you establish yourself as an educator and stay in that niche, eventually the people will find you.
And how long have you been doing this?
2018, I got the idea. 2019, I started the podcast.
Oh, wonderful. So what's been your proudest moment or biggest success thus far?
I think the biggest success was having seeing all the big numbers are fantastic, but then doing customer interviews as a follow-up and then talking to people who were the first people in their family to ever buy a home thought they couldn't do it. I mean, they're, sometimes in these interviews, I'm like Barbara Walters and I'm dating myself there. No, who's the one that used to cry all the time?
All right,
I'm
I
the
know
interviewer.
Barbara Walters too.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Whoever the interviewer is that cries when they talk to people. Maybe it was that sports guy, Roy Firestone. Can't remember.
Him I'm not familiar with.
Yeah.
So, running a business has its challenges. Okay. So what was your biggest challenge, and more importantly, how did you overcome it?
Multiple hats, and CEOing. To wake up in the morning and have to be the complete creative driving force behind your business, and then be the COO and have all the systems in place. So the most difficult challenge for me was building a system,
Right.
and while still maintaining the time to run the business so that the doors could stay open. And that part of it for me was specifically challenging because there's a software that we used to build the back end, and we did 8 months to do it.
Right.
And on the 9th month, they reached out to us and said, "Oh, somebody else bought us, and unless you work with this specific company, you can't use us anymore." So we had to rebuild the whole thing. But the systems on the back end, while staying motivated with creative on the front end, that can be a real balancing act the first couple of years.
Yeah. And I know when you're first starting out, it can be capital intensive and it's tough to secure some financing. How did you manage that early on?
Well, I would love to give everyone the clear cut answer, but trial and error. I'm Captain Error on that one.
Right.
I have completely gone from figuring out what I was going to do, maybe looking at an SBA, utilizing some capital that I had from the previous job before I got into it. And then I just jumped into it and started doing these little business loans as I went along. And if whatever marketing I was using didn't at least break even, then I would have to lean into organic for a little while. But in general, in my particular business, I recognize the seasonality, and I just did the old school squirrel method. When the spring was here and I could gather all the nuts, I did, and I just made sure I didn't spend all the nuts.
Okay, so you managed it properly.
Yes. How about that's a goal? But I have.
Okay. I guess that's always an ongoing goal, isn't it?
Yes. I have figured out how to manage it properly a couple times and made it work, and then we won't talk about the rest.
Okay. Now, speaking of goals, where do you see your business in the next year or two? Do you have any, exciting growth plans or goals, as we were just talking about, that you're aspiring towards?
Yes, Irv, do I have permission to have dreamy, lofty goals with you? Because
Absolutely.
I do. Lovely.
Absolutely.
When I started what I was doing, it was originally for something I was going to do in my own local area.
Right.
And that was to educate and empower this neglected niche of clientele. And I, from the very, very beginning, I was like, it's just for buying a home, but it's kind of like Dave Ramsey. It's just giving plain spoken, clear advice.
Right.
Then it got bigger and then it blew up. So now, yeah, I want to be, Dave Ramsey for first time home buyers. And the way for me to get there that I'm trying to do is take what I've done and grow with that, figure out some marketing dollars. And then the other side is this year we're adding YouTube in a big way because I've just been in people's ears. Now, like it or not, I'm going to get in your eyes too.
Oh, that's fantastic. So what's one thing that, if given the opportunity, you have the proper support and proper resources in place, what's that one thing that you would change for your business, like immediately, like tomorrow?
Oh, that's a fabulous question, because money related or not money related. Like if I had an extra $50,000 in the bank, the one thing I would do because of where I am is probably social media advertising.
Right.
Because the algorithm would catch it and we get enough people that are interested for my particular business to jump into education. But as far as like my goal board for what I've got to do this week,
Right.
it's to take a that first quarter step back at the end of every first quarter, right around my birthday is March 8th. So right around March 8th, I start figuring out, I do a complete time management overhaul.
Okay.
Pull out the time blocking, because what can happen for me in the seasonality is you could start reacting instead of acting in these first couple months.
Right. Well, David, it's been great learning about how to buy a home and how you're making a difference. For those wanting to connect, how would they find you?
Branding, baby. Howtobuyahome.com. That's it.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And any like LinkedIn addresses or Facebook, can they find you there as well?
Everything is at the How to Buy a Home. The Instagrams at How to Buy a Home podcast. But the LinkedIn, I think the LinkedIn actually might be my name, David Sidoni. But the Facebook is How to Buy a Home, and yeah, I'm even on TikTok. I used to dance, not anymore.
Getting a little old in the knees, huh? Just like
That's
me.
exactly too much Advil.
Too much Advil. Thank you, David, for joining us today and sharing your story. If you've enjoyed this podcast, stay tuned and subscribe for more exciting business spotlights. Until next time, we'll see you on the Credit Bank Small Business Spotlight. Thank you so much, David.
Thanks.
If you enjoyed this video, click here to watch another exciting episode.